The lantern wavered in his hand, throwing shadows across the barn's timbered ribs. John Carver had gone in expecting only silence, the heavy kind that settles after a day's labor. But it wasn't silence he found. A voice broke the dark, thin as a thread yet sharp enough to slice through him. "Please, don't leave me." The words hung there, trembling in the rafters, trembling in him. His breath stalled. He swung the lantern toward the far stall. At first, all he caught was a sliver of white, a face half buried in straw, eyes wide, lips cracked from thirst. She was young, maybe not more than 20, wrapped in a torn blanket that looked dragged through thorns and river mud. Carver froze, the weight of every year of solitude pressing down. He hadn't spoken to anyone longer than a passing morning at the Mercantile in months. Yet, here she was, as if the desert itself had coughed her up and hidden her in his barn. Her hand clutched something under the blanket, a desperate grip that made him wary. A pistol? A knife? Or just a keepsake? The lantern flame bent, hissed. He caught the raw edge of fear in her whisper. "They'll find me if you walk away." His first instinct was to turn, to shut the barn door, and let the world's trouble pass him by. Trouble had killed his brother. Trouble had taken his wife and the child that never had a chance. Out here, the land taught one lesson over and over. Trouble came fast, and it buried slow. He lowered the lantern, careful, as if a wrong move might spook her into flight or fury. "Who's looking for you?" he asked. Her lips parted, but no words came. Only the sound of her shallow breathing, quick, ragged. The silence stretched long enough for his pulse to thrum in his ears. He felt the horses shifting uneasily in their stalls, picking up on a tension older than language. Outside, the night wind dragged across the grass. A coyote barked somewhere distant. Carver swallowed hard, his throat dry as mesquite bark. He should walk out. He should bolt the door, forget the voice, the eyes, the weight of her plea. But his boots wouldn't move. Then, footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching gravel just beyond the barn doors. The girl's eyes widened, and the blanket trembled with her clutching hands. Carver's lantern shook, flame stretching tall and thin, as the sound outside drew closer. The crunch of boots outside the barn door grew sharper, each step deliberate, unhurried. Whoever it was, they weren't sneaking. They wanted to be heard. Carver's hand drifted to the Colt hanging on the wall beam. His fingers brushed the cold metal, but he didn't draw, not yet. The girl's eyes pleaded from the straw, wide and wet, as if every inch of her life rested on whether he opened that door or not. A man's voice called out, low and steady. "Evening, Carver. Barn lights burnin' late." He recognized it. Eli Barlow, a ranch hand turned drifter, who now rode with a rough crowd known for tracking more than cattle. If Eli was here, he wasn't alone. Carver set the lantern down, steadying his breath. He called back, voice even. "Something you need, Barlow?" Silence, then a chuckle. "Looking for a stray, girl. Slipped away from folks who claim her rightful. Figure she might have run through this stretch. Thought I'd check polite before searching rude." The girl buried her face into the straw at that, shoulders quaking. Carver felt a knot twist in his chest. He knew the kind of men Eli rode with, how they used the word rightful to excuse what couldn't stand daylight. His mind split in two. One side screamed to hand her over, close the door, and let someone else carry this fight. The other side, the side that still remembered his wife's quiet mercy, the way she'd give bread to strays no matter the cost, tightened his jaw. Eli's boots shuffled close. "Ozier, you gonna open up, Carver? Or do I need to take a walk round back?" Carver's heart hammered. He stepped toward the girl, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "You tell me true. Did you run from them? Or something worse?" Her fingers uncurled just enough to show what she clutched beneath the blanket. Not a weapon, but a scrap of cloth, faded, stitched with beads. A patchy design. A keepsake, not a threat. Her lips trembled. "They'll kill me if I go back." Carver shut his eyes for the space of a breath. The choice pressed heavy as the land itself. Help her, and he invited the wolves to his doorstep. Refuse, and he turned his back on something that might be his only chance at redemption. He gripped the barn latch. The wood creaked loud in the hush. Then, Eli's voice again, harder now. "Carver, open the damn door." And beneath that command came another sound. More than one set of hooves stamping in the dirt outside, waiting. "Open it, Carver. Don't make me repeat myself." Eli's voice had lost its patience, sharpening like the edge of a drawn blade. The girl's small gasp seemed to echo through the barn, louder than it should have been. Carver's palm lingered on the latch, but instead of pulling, he shoved the heavy beam down across the doors, barring them shut. The echo of wood on iron thudded like a gunshot. From outside came silence, then the scuff of boots retreating. Not away, though. Around, splitting. Carver grabbed the lantern and snuffed it out, plunging the barn into darkness. The girl clutched his sleeve, trembling. He leaned close, his whisper rough as gravel. "Stay quiet. Don't move." Through the slats of the wall, he caught glimpses of movement. Shadows sliding past, horse reins creaking. Eli wasn't alone. 3, maybe 4 riders, circling. They were tightening like a noose. A knock rattled against the back wall, too polite for the menace behind it. "You know, Carver," Eli called, his voice floating like smoke, "good neighbors don't keep secrets. If she's in there, hand her over and we'll trouble you no further. Carve." R's gut twisted. His mind flicked to his late brother's words, spoken years ago before the bullet took him. "The day you give in to men like that, you're already buried." The girl shifted, her hands still locked around that beaded cloth. Carver noticed the way her lips moved in silence. Maybe a prayer, maybe the shape of names she'd never speak aloud. Outside, the sound changed. A horse snorted. Spurs jingled. Then, boots hitting dirt. They were dismounting. Carver slid the Colt from its holster. The weight of it felt heavier than it ever had, as though the iron itself knew the kind of line he was about to cross. His pulse throbbed in his ears, each beat louder than the last. One of the men tested the back door. The latch shivered. Another voice, harsh and sharp, cut in. "She's worth more than we thought. Don't let Carver play stubborn. Break it if you need to." The girl's grip on his sleeve tightened, pulling his arm with desperate strength. Her eyes glowed in the dark, wide with terror. Carver drew in a breath, slow, steady, and raised the Colt toward the rattling door. Then, a sudden crack split the night. Not gunfire, but a whip of lightning across the sky, white light flashing through the slats. In that brief glare, Carver saw a figure silhouetted just beyond the wall, crowbar in hand, ready to pry the barn open. The wood began to groan under the strain. The crowbar bit deeper, wood fibers splintering with each wrench. Carver braced his arm, Colt leveled, but his breath caught when he felt her hand slide down his sleeve. Not tugging this time, pleading. "Please," she whispered, voice raw, "don't let them take me. I'll work. I'll stay hidden. Just don't hand me back." Her words cracked something in him he thought had gone hard forever. He remembered nights when his wife would place her hand just like that, steadying him after nightmares he never confessed aloud. For a moment, barn and thunder and danger fell away. Just that human touch, warm despite her fear. The crowbar groaned again. He had seconds, maybe less. Carver pulled her closer into the stall's shadows, crouching low. "If they break through, you don't run toward them. You run the other way. Understand?" She shook her head fiercely, strands of hair sticking to her damp cheeks. "No, they'll kill me. I'd rather—" Her voice failed, but her eyes finished the thought. Another slam. Wood cracked, daylight spilling through the breach. Carver's jaw clenched. He shoved a bale of hay across the gap, buying moments, not more. In the sliver of silence, he whispered, "What's your name?" She blinked at him, startled by the question, then softly, "Elena." The name lingered, carrying a weight all its own. Elena. Not a stranger, not just trouble. Someone with a name, with a past carved into that beaded cloth she wouldn't let go. Carver lowered his Colt for the briefest second. His thumb brushed the beading, sun-faded reds and blues. He'd seen such patterns once, years back, when trade brought Apache families through. His wife had admired them, said they told stories without words. Elena's lips trembled as she whispered, "My brother made this for me. He's gone now. They took him first." Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. The desert dried grief too quick. The barn shuddered under another heave. Splinters rained down like brittle snow. Eli's voice barked from outside, sharper now. "Carver! Don't be a fool! You can't stand against us!" Elena's fingers tightened around the cloth, then around his wrist. She didn't say another word. She didn't need to. The question in her eyes was clear. "Will you stand with me?" Carver looked down at her, then at the Colt in his hand, and knew the storm outside wasn't just weather. It was here, and it demanded his answer. The crowbar punched through, a hand shoved in, clawing at the latch. The latch gave way with a splintering crack. The barn door jolted open, spilling pale lightning light across the straw. Eli's silhouette filled the gap, shoulders broad, rifle hanging loose but ready. Behind him, three other shapes loomed, hungry, patient, sure of their power. Carver stepped forward, Colt raised, his frame blocking Elena from view. His voice came out low, steady, though his heart pounded like hooves in his chest. "She's not yours to take." Eli let out a slow, almost pitying laugh. "Carver, you always did fancy yourself righteous, but you know how this ends. 1 against 4. Ain't no shame in handing her back." The girl's fingers clutched the back of Carver's shirt, trembling, but she stayed silent. He could feel her breath against his spine, every inhale a reminder of the choice he had already made. The storm outside cracked again, rain beginning to fall, slanting through the open gap. Carver's boots sank slightly into damp earth. He thought of his wife, how she had once said, "The land don't remember cowards, only those who stood when it cost them." His thumb pulled back the hammer. "Step away, Eli." The air tightened. One of the men shifted, hand lowering to his holster. Carver caught it and barked, "Don't." The word hit the dark like thunder itself. For a moment, no one moved. Only the hiss of rain on dust. Only the nervous whicker of the horses tied outside. Eli's jaw worked. Carver saw it then, the flicker of uncertainty. Not fear, not yet, but the realization that Carver might be willing to bleed here, tonight, for a girl he'd never known an hour ago. "You'll die for her?" Eli asked, quieter now. Carver didn't answer with words. He just stood his ground, Colt steady, eyes fixed. Something shifted in the silence. The men behind Eli muttered, one spitting into the mud. They hadn't signed on for a siege in the rain against a man willing to draw first. Eli read it in their postures, cursed under his breath, then lowered his rifle. "We'll be seeing you, Carver," he muttered, voice full of promise. He jerked his chin, and the men backed away into the night. Hoofbeats faded, swallowed by the storm. Carver stood there long after they were gone, Colt still raised, until his arm ached. Only when Elena touched his wrist did he lower it. Her whisper broke the silence. "Why?" He looked at her, the stormlight painting her eyes bright and wet. His answer came rough, almost a growl. "Because someone should have done the same for mine." The rain thickened, hammering the roof, washing the dust away. Elena's hand tightened around the beaded cloth, around hope. And when Carver finally slid the barn door shut, the last shot of the night was this: a weathered rancher and a trembling girl, framed by lamplight, standing against the storm,